Hello, everybody. I'm pleased to announce that I'm fighting president of the United States. Holding nothing less than.
Welcome to a special edition of Chicago This Week. I'm Nicole Herzog, coming to you from outside the United Center. This is the Democratic National Convention show. Tonight, it's all about the Democratic National Convention. President Biden and some other high-profile officials will be in the city. That means security will be a priority. Haley Samples has more. Hi, Haley.
Thanks, Nicole. And I'm Haley Samples, coming to you from outside the Chicago Police Headquarters.
There's always going to be something that slips through the cracks, no matter what you try to do.
There might be a lot of people, a lot of protests, a lot of crowds.
These are the concerns of residents that live just 1 block away from the United Center. Mayor Brandon Johnson said that CPD, the Secret Service, and other local agencies have been building a safety plan for months.
Together, we are ready to host a safe and secure convention and welcome tens of thousands of visitors to the greatest city in the world.
In anticipation of the upcoming convention, CPD released maps detailing potential impact areas around both the United Center and McCormick Place. In these designated areas, there will be heightened police presence and street closures. Fleming has been living near the stadium for 12 years. He says he plans on stocking up on food because he's worried he'll have difficulty accessing his local grocery store.
And like I said, I'm planning ahead. That way I won't have to be out here dealing with it.
The convention is projected to bring upwards of 50,000 visitors to the city. A recent report by Chicago's Office of Inspector General shed light on their concerns, stating that CPD still has room for improvement on managing mass gatherings, specifically with crowd control. In a recent press conference, CPD Superintendent Snelling said that mass gatherings are no feat for the department.
CPD is no stranger to securing major events that draw attendees from all over the country and the world. This is no different.
The city has a track record of hosting large events, such as Lollapalooza, the NASCAR race, and even 25 Republican and Democratic national conventions. While local authorities are carrying out a safety plan, residents are hopeful about the impact the convention will have on the city.
But I think it's going to be good for the area, good for Chicago. So hopefully, we'll be proud and happy to have it.
It's going to be kind of hectic, but sometimes you just got to take the bitter with the sweet.
For now, CPD says they're training additional officers for extra help on convention days. And along with security zones comes a lot of restrictions, some of which have to do with when and where you can protest. Taylor Anthony has more on lawsuits filed against the city.
I'm here on North Michigan Avenue outside of the ACLU, which is defending bodies outside of unjust laws, one of the reproductive groups involved in the lawsuit against the city after the permit to protest at the DNC this summer was denied. The city of Chicago has denied activist groups permits to protest during the Democratic National Convention in August. Bodies Outside of Unjust Laws, a coalition for reproductive justice and LGBTQ liberation, is one of several groups suing the city.
Rather than make room for speech, Chicago has denied our clients and others permits to march where delegates can see them. These permit denials are unconstitutional.
The group planned to march down Michigan Avenue and State Street. Lindbergh says that marches on public streets and sidewalks are a privileged form of expression under the First Amendment. The city's reason for denial?
Michigan Avenue and State Street, where they wanted to hold the march, are going to be really busy, and there's going to be delegates and other visitors who are just arriving to their hotels, and it's going to be a big problem. And our police force will be spread thin, and we won't have enough officers.
Although the city offered an alternative route for the protest, it is being argued that it is not a reasonable alternative meeting the needs of the protesters.
Sadly, the city has not created a clear, transparent plan for welcoming those who want to come to demonstrate and express themselves on the issues of our day.
Following these lawsuits, the city's lack of preparation for the convention is being questioned. However, the city has yet to respond to this concern.
We will ask the court to order the city to allow bodies outside of unjust laws to march at a time and a place that allows their message to reach their intended audience.
Bodies outside of Unjust Law says they will march with or without a permit on the day before the convention.
We are peacefully marching at the DNC to prove that our demands are just, they are popular, and that we are determined to win them. Thank you.
From North Michigan Ave, Taylor Anthony, Chicago This Week.
The abortion rights activists are just some of the people suing the city to protest. Blanca Estrada talked to another group, including a man who experienced the DNC protests in 1968. Hi, Blanca.
In just a few months, the Chicago streets will be filled with protesters. They're all bringing their own demands to the table, but coming together for one, which is to stand with Palestine. With the Democratic National Convention approaching in 2 months, different groups are getting ready to protest outside the United Center. These groups have come together to form one big group called March on the DNC, which is made up of the U.S. Palestinian Community Network, Black Lives Matter Chicago, Arab American Action Network, Anti-War Committee Chicago, and so many more.
The way that this coalition has grown is partially off of relationships that have been built for years and for decades.
56 years ago, there were also protests at the 1968 Democratic National Convention in Chicago. The series of protests were due to the United States' involvement in the Vietnam War. Jonah Raskin was a former member of the Youth International Party, also known as YIPI. He said that history is repeating itself due to the current political climate.
The U.S. is sending bombs that are used against the Palestinians in Gaza. There's a lot of anger and resentment towards Biden and the Democratic Party.
I will be marching to bring the demands of working class and oppressed people.
The coalition is expected to bring different demands to the table with the hope that the Democratic Party will listen. A few of those demands are to end the genocide in Palestine, immigrant rights, LGBTQ and reproductive rights, police crimes, and legalization for all. The current struggle the coalition is facing is attaining their permit to protest. They've applied for their permit since last November and have gotten denied. They are now taking the case to federal court and are due back on June 6th. If they don't receive their permit, the March on the DNC coalition have vowed to march anyway. In Chicago, Blanca Estrada, Chicago This Week.
Haley, when we come back, more on the Trump versus Biden debate. Who do Chicagoans prefer?
And Nicole, could an Ohio policy cause some major changes at this year's convention?
A look back in history. The very first Democratic National Convention took place in 1832 in Baltimore, Maryland. At the time, the party was named the Democratic Republican Party. It was not formally the Democratic Party until 1944. Andrew Jackson was the candidate nominated at this convention. He went on to serve his second term as President of the United States.
At Northwestern, we're wildcats in every way.
Northwestern, break right through that. With our colors flying, we will cheer you all to go. Go you Northwestern, fight for victory, sweet victory, for the fame of our fair name, and go Northwestern, win that game. Go Cats!
Here's something visitors may not know. The United Center, which will house the DNC this summer, is the largest arena in the United States. It officially opened in 1994 and is home to the Blackhawks and the Bulls. The Blackhawks won 6 Stanley Cup championships, and the Bulls won 6 NBA championships. One of the most renowned players in Chicago Bulls history is Michael Jordan. In November of 1994, the center unveiled a statue of Jordan, a bronze, 12 feet tall, 2,000-pound sculpt of the star basketball player. It previously sat outside the arena, but was recently moved inside. Today, the arena can hold up to 23,000 people, and since its opening, has attracted 40 million visitors. Summertime Chicago is on the horizon. Millions of people stop by year-round, with the summer season being the most popular. For visitors, here are some must-stop locations. Millennium Park. It's one of the most iconic tourist attractions. The park has famous public artwork such as the Bean, and here at Millennium Park, there are summer workout classes, film festivals, and lots of live music. Chicago Riverwalk. The Chicago River runs through the city, bringing a stretch of waterfront businesses and eateries, spanning 1.25 miles from Lake Street to Lake Michigan. Not only does the Riverwalk offer art, food, and drinks, but it also brings a front row view to all the water rafters. Speaking of water activities, another stop for visitors should be one of the boat tours. There's the architecture tour that shows off the historic skyscrapers and uniquely designed buildings. There are also urban kayak tours where you can rent a kayak and follow a guided tour down the river. And finally, the Navy Pier. The pier first opened in 1916. It was the training location for thousands of U.S. soldiers during World War II. And for tourists in the 21st century, there are concerts, amusement park rides and games, and frequent fireworks. And now, back to our program.
An Ohio law is giving the Democratic Party some complications when it comes to President Biden. Casey Clark-Malott has more on this report.
I'm Casey Clark-Malott, and I'm here at Navy Pier, one of the top destinations in Chicago for visitors. While the Democratic National Convention is visiting this summer, many destinations across the city are expecting an uptick in visitors, including Navy Pier.
Hundreds of thousands of people are going to descend on Chicago, and they're going to be, attending delegate events, convention events, but they're going to have time, for themselves and their families and for leisure purposes.
Navy Pier will also host the delegates from across the country during the 3 days.
We are hosting a number of delegate events, both in our Aragon Ballroom as well as Offshore Rooftop, which is largest rooftop venue in North America.
While the Democratic National Convention isn't until August, President Joe Biden will have already received the party's nomination. Democrats will call a virtual roll call vote to nominate the president. The reason for the action? To bypass an Ohio law that allows Biden's name to be on the ballot come November. But without the nomination occurring, will the number of visitors decrease?
The information we've received is that, even with some of those changes, we don't anticipate the number of people that actually descend to Chicago to be drastically impacted by that.
The pier isn't alone. The Art Institute of Chicago told Chicago this week that it is expecting an increase in out-of-state visitors. It also plans to use the week as an opportunity to highlight the museum as a point of civic pride. In the past, exceptions have been made for both parties to allow the convention to still serve as the location for the nomination. However, arguments among Ohio politicians led the committee to bypass the law completely. This didn't stop the Ohio legislature from entering a special session. After the session was announced, the Republican governor, Mike DeWine, released the following statement. While I understand the Democratic National Committee has just proposed a workaround to help get President Biden on the Ohio ballot, it is prudent legislation be passed to get this done. As I previously said, we do not want to leave something so basic as having the sitting president of the United States on the ballot to others when this can and should be done legislatively. It's the right thing to do. A date for the roll call vote has not been announced yet. The convention is still coming to Chicago, but without the nomination, what else is happening? The convention has not yet released its official schedule or plans yet. But in the past, conventions have included countless speakers, including prominent party members, community leaders, and musical performances. Reporting from Chicago, I'm Casey Clark-Malott, Chicago This Week.
And of course, President Biden isn't the only candidate on the ballot this November. Donald Trump is still in the running. Sean Graney talked to Chicagoans about how they feel on the Trump versus Biden debate.
Hi, I'm Sean Graney, and I'm outside of the Trump Hotel. And Donald Trump became the first ever president to be convicted of felony crimes. And with election season on the horizon, Americans are skeptical of the direction the country is headed.
This election shouldn't be about just him. It should be about what is best for the United States.
You're the reason I am president. You're the reason.
As the 2024 presidential election looms, all eyes will be on the events leading up to it, with the Democratic and Republican National Convention slated for this summer. And Joe Biden and Donald Trump look to make their cases for a better America.
I think that there are a lot of things at stake globally as well as within the United States.
They're both going to act in like the interest of capital, and I just think that they're not going to really push for policy that actually helps people. So
if the agenda is not directly addressing the youth, I don't have much interest.
Inflation surged once again, and surged very badly.
The historic matchup pins two of the oldest candidates in American history against each other, breaking their own record set during the 2020 election.
Biden is he doesn't know what he's talking about, and then Trump is just easily overrules him out of nowhere. It's actually crazy.
I have very little faith in either candidate having an impact, for example, on my community or the violence among youth in our community.
Climate change, abortion and immigration laws, international war, and the economy are at the forefront of American concerns, and each candidate has framed this moment as crucial for the future of American society.
It's pure, flat-out hatred of one side against the other, which means that one side doesn't believe anything except what they read in their news bubble. And therefore, it doesn't matter anymore what truth is. It's sort of gone out the window.
If I were elected, instead of riots and protests, we'd have dancing in the streets.
The 2024 Democratic National Convention presents similar sentiments to the 1968 National Convention, protesting the U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War, with college students at the forefront of these demonstrations.
So young people, again, are now turned off by their Democratic president because of the war in Gaza. And if they don't turn out, that'll be very similar to what happened in '68.
Not one thing is cheaper under Crooked Joe's: food, gasoline, cars, trucks, rent, and mortgages. They're all through the roof.
The growing tension and uncertainty in the country has caused many Americans to become neutral and not favor either side.
20, 30 years ago, if a president was convicted of things or did as much as Trump did, he would not qualify to be elected.
I feel like I've really started to believe more in the power of my vote. I'm not thinking that it's going to be one or the other. I'm thinking that there's power in the people's voices, and our votes really can influence, hopefully, some change in whoever does end up being president.
The 2024 Democratic National Convention is set for August 19th through the 22nd in Chicago, and Democrats will formally renominate Joe Biden and Kamala Harris with a goal to show America the importance of democracy and freedom. Reporting in the Loop, I'm Sean Graney, Chicago This Week.
Coming up, more on the economic impact the conventions will have.
A look back in history. One of the most historic DNCs was the 1968 convention in Chicago. Police and protesters clashed over protests against the U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War. Tensions quickly escalated. At one of the protests in Lincoln Park, tear gas was deployed at protesters and some were beaten with clubs. Police said they were trying to enforce the established curfews and arrest those breaking the law.
At Northwestern, we're wildcats in every way.
Northwestern break right through that. With our colors flying, we will cheer you all to go. Go you Northwestern, fight for victory, sweet victory, spread for the fame of our fair name, and go Northwestern, win that game. Go Cat!
Thank you guys. Thank you so much.
One of the attendees at this year's convention is former Illinois State Senator and U.S. President Barack Obama. Both him and Michelle Obama's roots in the city run very deep. Coming soon to the south side of Chicago will be the Obama Presidential Center, 19 acres of gardens, exhibits, and a library. The center also hosts various programs and scholarships. Their Leaders program draws leaders of all ages around the world. It brings people of all walks of life together for skill building, leadership seminars, and impactful discussions. They also have their Voyager Scholarship, which provides financial aid to college students interested in public service. At this year's convention, Obama will be returning to the city where it all began. His role here will be as one of the 147 Illinois delegates supporting Joe Biden. While the convention is happening in the foreground, a robust food and hospitality scene is happening in the background. The Chicago food scene is vast and diverse. From deep dish pizza all around the city to Chicago dogs at Wrigleyville, there is something for every visitor. Different pockets of the city specialize in different types of food. Pilsen is home to some of the best Mexican cuisine. Chinatown has a whole plaza of Chinese food, including a Michelin star restaurant. Bronzeville and Hyde Park have a variety of Black-owned restaurants and wineries. There's also the famous fried chicken spot, Harold's Chicken Shack, that has multiple storefronts all over the city. And we can't forget Greektown in West Loop, or Lincoln Square, which has deep German roots. Regardless of your taste buds, Chicago's dining scene is fit just right for you. Before we return to our program, here's another fun fact for you. Our two 2024 presidential election frontrunners are not only the oldest candidates in history, but at the age of 81, Joe Biden is the oldest president the United States has ever had.
Here in Chicago, the convention is expected to bring millions of dollars in revenue, and it's the Chicago favorites that are expected to bring in the most. Kennedy Hewitt has more.
Hi, I'm Kennedy Hewitt. I'm here outside of Pisano's Pizza and Pasta, one of the many restaurants giving DNC visitors a taste of one of the best food scenes in the country.
The food is good. It's real great. So I ain't got no complaints.
Chicago food.
We're at AO Hawaiian Hideout.
Just ate the best pasta of our freaking lives.
Is definitely a selling point for the city. And when the DNC finally comes, it's local businesses like this that are expected to benefit.
The DNC being as prominent as it is, both locally and nationally, we're really excited about the foot traffic that we expect to see.
Pisano's Pizza and Pasta, a family-run and owned deep dish pizza shop, one of the restaurants owned by Chicago giants, the Malnati family. A family credited for advancing and cementing the deep dish legacy into Chicago history.
It's quite an honor and a privilege to be recognized, around the city as one of the classics.
With their South Loop location just minutes away from McCormick Place, the Malnatis can expect a huge increase in patrons this August. The city is expecting around 50,000 visitors, and they're estimating the economic impact to be between $150 and $200 million. Sam Toya, president of the Illinois Restaurant Association, said, "Much of that impact will be felt by our city's restaurants and hotels, reminding our country of Chicago's incredible dining scene and what makes the city so special."
Well, it's a great day to be a Chicagoan.
At a press conference last year, former Mayor Lori Lightfoot first announced the city would host the convention.
I also want to thank the hotel and hospitality community, Sam Toya, the Restaurant Association.
She let the local hotels and restaurants know that the work they will be doing during the convention will not go unnoticed.
An integral part of this bid in demonstrating that we could make this happen. So you also are going to be very busy.
What it could mean for our staff as far as getting to work and also just having a lot more people around in the neighborhood.
Sam Toya said, "Our restaurant operators, servers, and chefs look forward to welcoming the world with open arms. I am confident that there is no industry more ready and excited." And with plenty of restaurants to dine at in the South Loop, the thousands of visitors in August will have plenty to choose from. In the South Loop, Kennedy Hewitt, Chicago This Week.
Although the DNC is here in Chicago, right next door in Milwaukee is the RNC later in July. Nicole Herzog was in Milwaukee and has this report.
Hi everybody, I'm Nicole Herzog right outside of Pfizer Forum in Milwaukee, and it is quiet here right now, but come July 15th, more than 50,000 people will head through these doors. But this time, the Brew City is trading the bucks for ballots. Preparations are already heating up at Smokin' Jack's Barbecue in Milwaukee's 3rd Street Market Hall.
I like to say we have a Texas-style barbecue, but it's kissed with a little love of Milwaukee.
Smokin' Jack's is one of many local businesses hoping to give convention goers a taste of Milwaukee's flavor.
Well, we're super excited. One, we get to showcase our city. We missed the last convention due to COVID, so, it actually happening this year is awesome.
The city is tasked with raising $68 million to get the convention on its feet this summer. But they say the results will yield a delicious payoff.
We're hoping to have $200 million of economic impact when all is said and done, and also put Milwaukee on the map for more and future business.
Making that mark is something Allison Prange with the 2024 Nonpartisan Milwaukee Host Committee has been working on for months.
It takes a lot of work. A lot of people are working really hard to welcome 50,000 visitors to Milwaukee this summer, raising the money, recruiting volunteers, putting the infrastructure in place to make sure this convention is successful.
And nothing says welcome to Wisconsin like a cheesy pizza from America's Dairyland. And of course, a beer to wash it all down. State Street Pizza Pub is lucky enough to be located just steps away from Pfizer Forum where the convention is being held.
I'm overly joyous of it, I'm also cautious of it too because there's going to be a lot of extra steps that I have to go through that I'm not normally going to have to do.
State Street Pizza Pub is located inside the official security perimeter, meaning they're taking extra steps with the U.S. Secret Service to develop a safety plan. But owner Andrew Fish says he's more concerned about cooking up a good time and bringing the Wisconsin vibes.
Our tagline is come for the pizza, stay for the people. I've got great people. We're known for our service. If I'm here, I'll probably come up and tell you some bad dad jokes. That's what I'm known for.
So even if you are there for the politics, you'll find Milwaukee serving up much more than just hot debates.
People can expect dynamic, entertainment. We have amazing restaurants here, great lakefront, and a really warm welcome that people will give them.
The convention will run from July 15th until July 18th, and registration for vendors inside the RNC is now open online. In Milwaukee, Nicole Herzog, Chicago This Week. Thank you so much for watching this very special edition of Chicago This Week, the Democratic National Convention Show.
It's been a pleasure bringing you local stories all season long here on Chicago This Week. Have a great summer.
Goodbye, everyone.